My name's Dave, one of the producers of our Firearms Expert Reacts series, and I got the chance to sit down with a couple of the developers of Hunt Showdown to chat about how they implemented feedback from the expert himself, Jonathan Ferguson. Over the talk, we covered everything from their response to the original video from March 2021, what they changed, and how they approached the game's weapon design. So without further ado, here's my catch up with some of the fine folks behind Hunt Showdown. What was your reaction when you saw that first Expert Reacts video pop up and saw your game tied to a historian and an expert sort of breaking down your work?
I have been following the Expert React series for a while. As a weapon artist, I am very interested in like how other games realize their weapons, and not only like art but like sound, like realism and stuff. And of course, seeing our work being portrayed was very exciting. We really care about our work and the stuff we do, and we are not historians, of course. We are not experts. We are just like video game artists and animators and designers. So it's really awesome to have someone who is really knowledgeable about the stuff, really analyze and dissect our work.
For me, for animation wise, first off, I think it's really cool. It's really interesting for someone to look at our animation, because normally people talk about gameplay, about the visual elements, the environment and stuff. So it's really cool to have someone with such a vast knowledge of weapons to look at our stuff.
Of all the games we've shown him, I want to say like Hunt is probably in like the top 10% of things that he's enjoyed watching and credited for its realism and authenticity, even when it's in like a fantasy setting. So is it, I suppose, seeing critiques like that are so granular, is it like both a source of pride and sometimes like anxiety that there are things that are being picked apart to such a degree?
Yeah, it's some of the things are of course like our mistake, because as I said, we are not experts, right? And some of these weapons, of course, I live in Europe. It's not that easy to get your hands on any of this. Like if we were a US studio, it would be really easy to just like go to whatever pawn shop, get like a Veterli or something, and then play with it, right? But we don't really have that chance to get, especially these really rare historical weapons. Sometimes we make a mistake because we really don't know how it actually worked. Sometimes it happens that the limitations of a video game kind of constrain us, and we cannot do it perfectly realistic because of whatever. It could be animation constraints, could be maybe it's too expensive or too many parts or something for it to run.
We try very hard to mimic real life. Sometimes we animate stuff. We try to make it as close to how it should move in the real world, like timing wise, how slow it should be, how heavy it should be. But sometimes because of the constraints and there are so many different weapons in game, that we have to balance them.
Obviously, like you said, you're in Europe, in Singapore, you don't have access to a lot of these weapons. So what resources do you use when it comes to creating virtual representations of these weapons?
Like before we create something new, a new weapon, for example, weapon art, for example, Alex, he will source for all the blueprints that he can find, the references, and he will show us how the gun mechanisms work and what are the things to take note of and stuff. It's very essential for us to look at whatever blueprints or references that we can find, because Hunt is very realistic. We want to make it as authentic as possible.
From the art side, I would say definitely, blueprints are a lifesaver if we can get our hands on them, because with those we make sure that the proportions of the weapon are correct. Not only because like pictures can be maybe a little bit distorted or skewed or something. Depending on how rare the weapon is, there might not even be a lot of material online to find information about it, right? Not blueprints or manuals or something. So sometimes you have to kind of figure it out by yourself. Really high definition pictures are also great. Those allow us to basically go really deep and put all the markings and all the text and all the little like stamps and details on the weapons, like to really nail them. And another great resource are videos. So there's like some historical YouTube channels that help us a lot. That they take these 19th century weapons and like really analyze them, their history, their design, their patterns, different patterns throughout their lifetime. And basically seeing it in movement, seeing the people handle it, like how it, opening it, reloading it, gives a real sense of how difficult it is to operate. Yeah, we need to get a lot of references. Since we of course cannot get them. So
the Sparks LLR in particular, I believe you were the first studio, at least publicly, to come out and say, hey, like this note was made in a video from GameSpot and we've changed it. What made you want to do that? Like there's other weapons that were critiqued, but with the Sparks in particular, what made you sort of take note, look at what was said, and go back and be like, yeah, we are going to change this reload?
So for the Sparks, that hammer, the extra action on the hammer we have seen it is really extra action, and because we want to animate as realistically as possible, so the redundant action should be taken out.
I think we did not change the actual reload time. Even if it doesn't do the extra action with the hammer, the reload time stays the same. And this is for balancing reasons, because if we did it more realistic, then of course the reload will be shorter and it would make the Sparks more powerful in relation to other guns. And yeah, so sometimes we make reloading times longer or shorter for balancing the weapon. As we said before, we have so many weapons at this point that we need to really take these more variable constraints or more variable things, like the reload time, like maybe the damage or something, as everything as we can to balance the weapon but it feels realistic.
So was there sort of like a meeting or a Slack conversation being like, hey, this has been pointed out, it's probably something that we can do? How did that go down?
I'm not sure exactly who pointed it out, because again, we're really passionate about your Expert React series, so a lot of people in the team watch it, and yeah, I guess it must have been in animation, because of course that doesn't depend on the art, so it wasn't on us, but somebody pointed it out in the chat, and they were like, well, yeah, let's change it. This is wrong, and we got this valuable bit of feedback, so let's apply it.
Your studio is very tied to your community and engage with the community a lot. Was there, when you posted that patch saying, hey, we've updated the Sparks and this is why, was there like any interesting responses from the community? Was it like hey, cool, like you took that on board, or were there people that were like,
absolutely,
that wasn't necessary?
Yes.
Or what was the response?
Yeah, the community was really excited because the people who are passionate about Hunt, they're usually also passionate about these historical weapons and the realism. And seeing that we are also those people, we are also part of the community that is very interested in history, very interested in this, like, old firearms, and they were really excited that we actually listened and that we took notice and did the changes. They were really excited. It was really nice to see. It brings kind of the development team and the community together in a way, right? Because we are basically fans of the same things. We are them, basically. Like I was a member of the community way before I joined the dev team.
Off the back of either the video itself or just further research and reading into things, have there been any other weapons that you've sort of gone back and taken a second look at and been like, we could tweak this, tie it into reality and its real world counterparts a little more?
Yes, there was one more thing. Jonathan noticed in the first video that some of our revolvers, like the conversion and the packs, do not use the ejector rods to reload. Instead, they do like some kind of rubbing and then the weapon cartridges come out. This is for a reason, but it's a somewhat kind of technical, obscure one. Basically, our weapons are modular, which means that they are comprised of different parts, right? So it's usually the barrel, the receiver, and the stock. And normally, to kind of make it easier on the animation team and the technical art team, only the receiver is animated. So basically, only the drum and the trigger, the hammer, basically the things that usually move when the weapon cycles, only that part is animated. The problem with those revolvers is that the ejector rod is in the barrel. So we either make like a kind of really big receiver with like a lot of parts and stuff, or we still need to split it because we need to make, for example, longer pistol versions or like longer socks or whatever. So in this case, it was decided, this was before my time, but it was decided that the ejector rod parts should remain static. They just tweak the animations, and then yeah, that's it. We had a look at it, at how complex it would be to actually fix it and actually kind of convert all of our revolvers to use this new piece, to use the ejector rod. The problem is that we have so many weapons and so many legendary weapons that some of them, for example, are like carbine versions, right? And they maybe don't have an ejector, or maybe in some legendary skins the ejector is broken. So we, of course, we couldn't use it because it's literally not there. So we would have to make bespoke animations and bespoke rigs for all of these legendaries, which are, again, a lot because the game is at this point like 4 years old. So we decided that the payoff, which is like making the guns slightly more realistic, wasn't really worth the amount of hours that we would have to put in. So we did look at it, but unfortunately the result is that it remains the same.
Thanks again to Winnie and Alex for their insight into the art and animation process behind the scenes of Hunt Showdown. If you want to see Jonathan's take on Hunt Showdown, make sure to check out both the episodes we've done on the game. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.